372 new laws signed by Governor Gavin Newsom scheduled to go into effect between now and this summer. That may sound like a lot, but it's actually the lowest number of new laws in 50 years due to the pandemic.
A big handful of the laws are in direct response to COVID-19 and will assist Californians physically and financially. Joining us now is healthcare attorney and author Harry Nelson. Harry, good to see you. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Great to be with you guys.
So, Harry, what is the new law regarding the responsibility of employers that receive notifications of potential exposure to COVID-19 in their workplaces?
So the big new law is a notification requirement. The new law is that if there is a known or possible exposure to COVID in the workplace, an employer is now required to notify both public authorities and everybody in the workforce, employees, contractors, subcontractors who are on site within one business day. So we have a lot more organization around making sure that everybody knows, that the government knows, and that everybody in the workforce knows when there has been an exposure.
And there's been an expansion of workers' comp for employees who've tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, so this has been a real hot issue, Frank. A lot of people have questioned, how do you know where you got COVID? So the good news is, if you are a first responder or a healthcare worker or any person working for a company with 5 or more people where there's a known outbreak in the workplace, you have a presumptive right to work comp. So this is great, particularly in the healthcare setting and for first responders like people in to the ambulance, emergency response, everybody, the law enforcement. We're now getting protection so that if they get sick, they're entitled to work comp. They can stay home and know that their medical care is covered.
Paid sick leave, we hear that has been expanded. Tell us why.
Yeah, so that was an important one. So we had a federal law, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that passed early in the pandemic. And it was good for a lot of people, but it had some gaps in it. And one of them was, for example, anybody who worked for a company with 500 or more people nationally was exempted. Large companies were protected from having to pay supplemental leave if there were stay-at-home work orders or if people had to stay home because they were sick. And so now California has filled that gap, and basically every employer with more than a handful of employees in the state of California is required to pay that leave. So that was a major step forward.
And what do we need to know about this year's increase in the minimum wage?
Yeah, so there's minimum wage as an example of one of a series of non-COVID specific laws that also are out there to help people in the workforce. The minimum wage went up. It's $14 an hour now in California, 13 if you have 25 or fewer employees. And just to quantify that for people, that means that the minimum annual wage for somebody working full time has gone up from 27,000 to 29,000. So I think that's an important step forward. Next year, it's going to go up again by $1. So that was one step. And we have a couple other employment-related laws. California passed a law for people with military, anybody who has military family members, to protect them and give them the same rights to paid leave as people who are taking off for a new child or to care for a relative, and also a greater protection for people who need to take sick leave on a whole variety of basis across the whole workforce. It used to be that you needed to have 50 or more employees to be covered by what was called the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, and now you get up to 12 weeks of leave, even if you work for a company as small as 5 employees in California.
All right. Well, Harry, thanks so much for being with us and explaining these new laws. We appreciate it. Harry Nelson, the author of 2 best-selling healthcare books and a co-managing partner at Nelson Hardiman, a specialty law firm for healthcare providers. For more information, you can check out his website.